Every year, my best friend Kyle Porter and myself like to plan a backpacking trip so we can sort of leave our city lives behind, get out in the great Mother Nature, and sort of, just chill out and explore and, soak it up. So, about 4 years ago, Kyle, myself, Kyle's brother Jeff, his friend Scotty, and Kyle's English mastiff Sasha chose to go on a backpacking trip at this place called Island Lake, which is up Highway 80 in the Tahoe National Forest. Now, Island Lake is sort of one giant lake that you can start at, and then there's a bunch of small lakes that are past it that you can hike out to, camp at, and go as far as you want to. So when we went on this trip, it was the end of March, early April, which is pretty early to start trying to go backpacking up in Tahoe National Forest, but we chose to go anyways because we were quite eager. So we figured, we would run into a few small snow patches here and there that we could dodge easily, and there wouldn't be, much of an issue. So we drove up there, super excited, parked the car. We start to head out from Island Lake, and all was well, and pretty dry for the most part. For the first 30 minutes, about 45 minutes, and we started to see some pretty big snow patches, and a little bit after that we were walking on straight snow, which was covering the entire trail. So Kyle's brother's friend Scotty, who was with us, he was pretty familiar with the area, so he sort of, had a general idea of where to take us, and I had a small little map that showed where the lakes were so we could sort of put our heads together and figure this out as a little camping group. This is something that sort of comes about when you're grouping with people. You sort of help each other out and, figure things out together, and it's, one of the magical things about it. So we started doing this hike in between the lakes, and we were standing on top of the snow for the most part because it had a pretty good crust layer, which, was good, but here and there we would take a step and all of a sudden we'd collapse through the snow and we'd be, above our knee deep in snow, which, it happened here and there. It's not a big deal, but Kyle's brother Jeff happened to have knee surgery that previous year, so he was like healed up but still pretty fragile, so when he would fall through he would definitely be hurting pretty bad. So the group sort of contributed into wanting to help him out, as we all would on these little trips, and take some of his gear to lighten his load to prevent him from falling through. So we figured that out. We kept on going. Another time there was a creek that we either had to go all the way around, which would have had half a mile or something, or we could just cross this one stump log which went over the creek, which was pretty cool. But with Kyle's dog Sasha, she was pretty spooked, so we sort of put our heads together and two of us went across and we're sort of luring her over, and the other two were sort of behind her, rooting her on, and finally got her to cross. So sort of another one of those moments of helping out the group effort, which is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. So finally, after hiking a few miles, we made it to Milk Lake, which is one of the smaller lakes, and we saw that there was some dirt patches within the trees that we could set up our tents, camp out, have a fire, and just chill out for the night. So that's where we're going to be. So we pretty much got there, set up our tents, we built a fire, we started to cook food. If someone didn't have a certain item of food or not that much of something, someone else was going to have something that they could offer and contribute. So we did that. We jammed out on our little guitar ukuleles that we brought. Sasha just laid by the fire and relaxed and enjoyed our company, and we enjoyed hers. Cracked jokes and sort of started to shed the mindset that you're in when you're working, going to school, and that sort of routine. This is something that seems like it sort of comes out when you're in nature and camping, and I feel like it's quite unique when you're with a larger group of people, because odds are they're all very different in certain ways, especially if you don't know them that well, because they all sort of start to open up in ways that they haven't for a while, for themselves even. So yeah, it becomes a really silly and honest and genuine in the moment sort of experience. So that's something that's always been really great about it. So for the next few days, we pretty much just hung out at the first lake, Milk Lake, went on hikes. The lake was frozen, so we sort of hiked across it and did a little exploring. We tried to ice fish, which wasn't successful, but it was fun to even try and even just to crack open part of the ice. We did that. We went downhill skiing, which was pretty much us just running and skiing down the snow hills in our regular shoes, but those are sort of the fun activities that you sort of come out with when you have nothing else to really worry about besides being there in that moment. especially when you have a comical group that sort of throws out these certain ideas that you wouldn't think of if it weren't for them. So we would do that, and by night just have bonfires and eat and relax, and yeah, it was great. We moved to a few different lakes throughout those 3 nights, I'd say, and yeah, just lived simply and happily. So on the 4th morning, we chose to sort of pack up our gear and start to head back. We wanted to camp more, but we were sort of ready to move on to new areas, so we were going to head back to Island Lake, which is the biggest lake, and it's quite a beautiful one that we hadn't stayed at yet. So we figured we would just go the same route that we went out there, and it'd be easy to follow because our footprints would be in the snow, so it'd be like a guaranteed way back and no shenanigans involved. So on our way back, maybe 30 minutes into it, we started to notice these giant paw prints that were in the snow, and these didn't look like someone's dog paw prints. We didn't see any other humans out there for quite a few days, or the whole time actually. So we were curious about it, and we noticed these huge paw prints like this big, sort of following our exact trail, which was pretty spooky. Then it would veer off up the hill, and we would see it down by the lake and sort of back on our trail for quite a while, quite a few miles even. So we were pretty wigged out by it, our adrenaline was pumping. We were looking around when we were hiking back to this main lake and sort of wondering what is that? Should we be concerned about this? We still wanted to camp out and figured, we're in nature and all's well. We have enough people there with us, so we're probably safe. So we had made it to Island Lake and camped out for the one final night. We had one giant fire to sort of figure that we could maybe deter this animal if it was a predator of sorts. We sort of, relaxed, had a giant meal, one last night of camping, and so we chose to finish the night out by having that giant fire. Once the coals went out, we went to bed, and talking about it after the trip, we sort of all realized that we all had a really weird night of sleep, that we sort of had that thought of the animal paw prints in our mind, and is something still out there, and still something is around us nearby, but whatever. But we would hear random sounds in the middle of the night and figured it might be someone standing up to go pee or whatever, and thought nothing of it. So that was it. We went to bed, woke up the next morning, made some coffee, made breakfast. We noticed all around our tents and our campsite there were more of these giant massive paw prints scattered around, so we were sort of freaking out lightly, but sort of excited about it at the same time. So eventually, as the day went on, we packed up our gear and said maybe we should finally go back because this animal is still following our trail. So we packed up, headed back. We bumped into 2 other hikers that were the first people we saw the whole trip, and they actually had been locals from the area, so they were familiar with everything. And we told them about the paw prints. They're yeah, those are mountain lion paw prints. They're known from living up on the hill, and they come down to these lakes to drink water and maybe hunt. And if you don't know about mountain lions, they tend to stalk their prey for quite a while before they make an attack. So we're just whoa, all right, we made it this far, let's get on out of here. So we sort of left thinking, this thing was definitely stalking us from the beginning of the trip out to Milk Lake and all the way back in our campsites. Why didn't we get attacked or see anything? And we sort of figured that it's because we had such a big group, 4 guys and the English Mastiff dog, that maybe this animal didn't want to strike because we were in such a large group, which sort of kept us safe. So this is why I think that you should try to go backpacking in larger groups. Now, it's not always the easiest to go out to Tahoe National Forest, but we do have surrounding areas to go backpacking in and camping in. And you can't always find as many people as you want to go backpacking, but I feel like it is something that's very special and important, because when you go in a larger group, when you're out in nature, your mind starts to work in a very unique and almost childlike way, and stripped of these things of our daily lives. So it's a very unique experience when you sort of get to experience other people's mindsets as well, out in the nature like that. And also in a larger group, you can help each other out with missing food or carrying someone's bags if they're injured, or being familiar with the area with your knowledge and navigation. And also, if you're in a larger group, you might possibly deter mountain lions from stalking you and trying to gobble you up. That is about it. Thank you.